In this video, what I'm going to do is show how to create a scrolling background using an image. And I've gone onto Flickr and found this image of a beautiful desert landscape. It's by Flickr user Yanis Chatsi, and I've downloaded it at the original size. And the license is attribution non-commercial share alike. So I've downloaded that file and I've added the link to the source image and the information about the user and the license that I'm using it under in the top comment of my file. The other thing that I've done is I've trimmed the image, so I've trimmed the top and the bottom of the image, so the total height is only 400 pixels high, but it still has the original length. I think it's about 2,000 pixels wide. And what I'm going to do is create a 600 by 400 canvas, and this image, when I show it in the canvas, it's only going to show a portion at a time. And I'm going to move the image left and right to give the illusion that the landscape is moving across the canvas. So close that. I'll go to my sketch and add the file and just drag that JPEG in. And I'm also at this point going to add another file, a puck.js, which is going to be the class for the character in my sketch. And once I've got them, they should show up in the project folder. And firstly, I'm just going to, in my sketch, create a variable for the background. So let bg would be a good name for it. I'll need a preload function where I load the image. bg equals load image, and then just the path, bg.jpg. And I'll just draw that to the canvas. So image bg.0, 0. And when I run that, we should just see the first part of the image after it loads. There we go. I'll also make my canvas a little bit wider. I'll make it 600 wide rather than 400 wide. There we go. So next thing I'll do is set up this puck.js, this puck class. First thing I should do there is click into index.html and just copy and paste that script tag, but change sketch.js to puck.js. Click back into my sketch and actually I'll go into the puck.js and define the class. So we use the keyword class, and curly brackets, and everything between the curly brackets is what defines the puck. Oh no, I need to remember to say what the name of my class is. And you can call it whatever you like. It could be rainbow particle, depends on your sketch. So class puck, first thing we'll need is a constructor. And this puck is going to require an x and a y position. So we'll give an argument x and y to the constructor. I think those are capitals. And I'm just going to copy them into the new object. So this.x equals x and this.y equals y. Then the next thing we'll need is a function to show the puck on the canvas. So show. And I'm simply going to draw a rectangle at that xy position. So rectangle, this.x, this.y, and I'll make it 20 pixels high and 20 pixels wide. Now, one thing I might change here is I'll just change the rect mode in my sketch from the default, which is that the rectangle gets drawn with XY as the top left corner, to the center. So I'll say rect mode center in the sketch. Go back to sketch, and then in the setup, I'll set rect mode to be center. And I'm going to create a new variable for the puck. Let p equals, actually I'll just declare it there and then I'll initialize it in the setup. So p equals new puck. And I'll put it halfway across the screen but down near the bottom. So a new puck at width over 2 and then height minus 50. Just guessing these numbers, but that should probably work. And then I'll draw that new puck to the screen, so p.show. there it goes. I can make my sketch, give it a little bit more room here so we can see the whole thing. Yeah, so you can see the whole canvas. All right, so we've got the background image loaded and displaying on the screen. We've created a new class for the puck. What we need to do now is move that puck left and right. So I'm going to use keyboard input for that. So I'm going to say function press, and then if key equals W, or not W, I'm actually going to use A to go left and D to go right. So, or if key equals capital A, then I want to move left. Otherwise, if the key equals D, or the key equals capital D, move right. All right, so that's the key press. We're taking the user input, the lowercase or uppercase A, or the lowercase or uppercase D, and moving left or right. So we need to create a function on our puck class that will actually move it. So I'll save that and change back into puck. So the thing about classes is when you define a class, you can make it do whatever you want. If you need a function that moves it left or right or moves it diagonally, all you do is you just define that function and define how that should work. So I'm going to say move left. And when it moves left, I'm just going to change the X value, right? So the X value is where it's drawn on the screen. And if I'm moving to the left, that means that X value is getting smaller. So I'll just say this.x minus equals 5 pixels. Probably something. But I'll see if that works, and if that works okay, then, or if we need to adjust it, we can just change that number. So move right. This.x, and this time it's going to increase the X value, so I'm going to move plus 5 pixels. So I've defined the functions on the puck class. Now I just need to call them from the sketch. So here where I say move left and right, I just need to go p.move left, which is the new function that I've defined, and I need to say p.move right. And if you were defining some other function like move diagonally or explode, you would just say p.explode or p.move diagonally or whatever you call that function. All right, let's see if that moves the puck. If I press the A key, moves left, and if I press the D key, moves right. Now I feel like that the movement is a little bit slow, so I'm going to increase that number of pixels it's moving each time. But that would actually make sense to, rather than putting a number in here, it would make sense to make that a variable of the puck. So if I had something like this.speed, right? Now, I probably don't need to pass that in as an argument because the speed of the puck in this sketch is always going to be the same. So I'm just going to, in the constructor, I'm going to give it a value. So I'm going to say this.speed equals, and I'm going to set it to 20. The advantage of that is now I can test it out and see if 20 feels like the right speed. And maybe I feel like that's a little bit too fast. I can just go back here and I'm just changing it in one place. So there's less chance that my code is going to get broken. So I'll set the speed to 15, and that feels better. Okay, so now the next thing we need to do is think about what happens when that puck gets to the edge of the screen. Like really, when I'm here, what I want to happen is that if I move any further left, the puck doesn't actually move on the screen. What happens is the canvas moves in the opposite direction, moves that way. And if I go all the way to the left, the puck should sort of stop there, and the canvas should move, the background image should move the other way. So let's think about that. So firstly, what I should do is only move left if it is possible for the puck to move left. So I'm going to add another function on the puck. I'm going to say can move left. So this function is going to return true if the puck can move left and false otherwise. So basically I'm going to say if this dot x, and I need to have brackets here, is greater than 50 plus this dot speed. So it'll be 65 when the speed is 15. Then there is space for it to move to the left. Return true. Else return false. And I have a similar sort of function for whether the puck can move right. So can move right is going to be if this dot x is less than width minus 50 minus 50 plus speed, this speed. Let's close the if the width is less than, if the x is less than width minus 50 plus this speed, then there is room for it to move further to the right. So we should return true, otherwise return false. Now you may have sort of come across before functions like this that return a true or a false value, and basically the way they end up looking is if some test, return true, else return false. And I usually write them this way because it's easier for new programmers to understand what's happening. But I'm just going to show you a little something. This actually is the same, that whole thing is the same as writing just the test. So you can just say return and just return what your test is. So that's another way of writing those kinds of those functions that just return a true or a false. But I'm going to leave it the way it was because new programmers find them easy to understand, I think, usually when you kind of write out explicitly that you're returning false or true and so on. 50 plus speed. All right, so I think I missed a bracket. Puck to sketch, go back to sketch. Now, what I can do, because I've got those functions can move right and can move left, I can say only move left if it can move left. So I can say if p dot can move left, right? That function returns true if it can, so I can use it in an if statement. If it can move left, then call the move left function. If p dot can move right, if it can move right, then we're going to call the move right function. And now that I've done that, what we should see is when I run it again and go to all the way to the right, it should stop at the edge. So I keep pressing the key and it won't go any further. And if I go all the way to the left, and it stops there as well. Okay, so what next? Yes, so when I get to that point where it can't move any further left, then what I should do is instead move the background. So this is where our scrolling background comes in. So here if I say else, And I'm going to make a function called move background. So I want to move the backgrounds if the puck wants to move that way, to the right, then if it gets to the end, then the background has to move the opposite way. So the background should move left. And here, where the puck is trying to move to the left, if it gets all the way to the left and is sort of blocked, then the background should move the other way to give the illusion that it's still moving. Else, so here I'll say move background, not left, but right. Right, so I'm going to use these two functions. I've got to define them. I've just typed them out for now, but I'll just make them functions in the sketch.js. They don't need to go in any class. They can just be normal kind of functions. So I'm going to say function move background left. And function move background right. Okay, so let's think about, so one way that I can move that background to the left is by setting the X position that I draw the background. So here where I draw the background, I can set that first argument to be a negative number. And as the bigger the negative number, the further to the left it will get drawn. So here, rather than just putting in 0, I should actually have a variable that tells where the background should be drawn. So I'm going to say bg left. And that's going to be a variable that I define in my sketch. Let bg left, and it can start off at 0. So when I move the background to the left, really what I want to do is say bg left minus equals, I should use the same speed that I use on the puck. That's 15. I'll come back to this, but for now let's just test that that works. So if I move puck to the left, and I get there, oh no, I need to move the puck to the right in order to get the background to move to the left. So I go all the way to the right, and then the background starts moving. Right, let's do the same thing for moving to the left. So yeah, I said I would come back to this number. So I think this actually would also make sense to make a variable, a global variable. So I'm going to say move speed. So the move speed is going to be 15, and then that would actually be sensible to use that in the puck as well, right? So whenever you're sort of using these declaring variables or using numbers that define how your sketch works, you want to, if you can, if it's at all possible, you want to define them once and set the value once, and then everywhere that needs to use that variable just looks up the value of the variable, rather than having one variable in the puck and another variable in the sketch, you know, and then they end up being different and things don't work. So here, if I say this.speed equals move speed, I'm just going to copy that global variable into the puck. And then when I move right, it's just simply a matter of saying bg left plus equals move speed. Okay, so move to the right, and the background scrolls. I'm going to move to the left, all the way to the left. The background scrolls the other way. Now, we will run into a problem though, because we don't check for whether the background can scroll any further. So just in the same way that when the puck gets to the edge of the screen, we stop it from going any further, we need to do the same thing with the background. So basically, when I'm going to the left, when I'm moving the background to the right, it should never be any more than 0. So if I have a positive number for that BG left, that's the case here where I'm sort of pushing it over to the right. So what I'm going to say is if BG left is greater than, actually I'll say if BG left plus move speed is less than 0, okay, so I'll only change it if it's going to leave it less than 0. And here I'm going to say, I'm only going to, we'll have the same problem the other way, but it should always be less than the total width of that background. So if we move it to the left more than the total width of the background, so like if that's the total width of my background, if I keep moving it to the left, and at some point if I go more than the background, it's going to go off the edge of the screen. So I should say here, if BG left minus move speed is less than the negative BG dot width, so actually I only do that as long as it's greater than that. So like once the negative number becomes more than the width, I should stop. This would actually be a good point to sketch things out on paper to make sure that you're understanding it correctly. Unfortunately, I don't have my camera to do that today, so I'm trying to work it out in my head, and I'm probably going to get it wrong. But let's go to the left here, and it shouldn't move, right? So if we get to the end and the background can't move anymore, but when we go over to the right, background starts moving. It's really tedious to miss it anyway. Going a long adventure through the desert. Run, 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 you're gonna get there to the finish line. I'm trying to make this exciting for you. We're almost there. Oh. Okay, so I've got a problem. So basically, it's when I'm moving the background left, this test is not working properly. BG left minus move speed, 12%, that should be okay for the rest of the speed. BG left minus move speed, well, I'm going to work it out on paper. You might not be able to see, I'll see how it goes. So I figured out what I forgot. So, look, here's my sketch. Like, just by doing that, I figured out what the problem is. I forgot to take account of the width of the canvas. So here, look, this is the power of doing things on paper. BG width, it's terrible, you can't really see that, but that's 600. I need to take account of that. So, just to make this clearer, I'm going to make these some variables. So let max min BG left equals minus BG dot width plus the width of the canvas. That's the minimum BG width, and if the BG left minus the move speed is any less than that, we're not going to, it has to be greater than that in order for us to move. So then BG left. Pretty sure this fixes it. That's it. But yeah. Run! It's a game of skill and patience, and strategy and fortitude. And that's it, that's the end. So it didn't move past the end. So that's working. One last thing, just one last thing. This key press, like having to repeatedly press the key is super annoying. And that really depends on your browser and on your operating system. Some operating systems will repeat the key press. Others will only do it once. I'm just going to look up the P5JS reference, P5JS key repeat. It's probably the thing to yeah, so we could use key is down. Okay, holding down a key will cause multiple calls to key types. That's probably what I want. So if I go that, so I used for my keyboard input, I used key pressed. Let's see if I can change this to key typed and make something that's a bit nicer to actually use key typed. No, that's not. It's not repeating. Well, look, that is an issue with the sketch. I think I might leave it there because that's possibly something that you can figure out by looking at the P5 reference to find out different ways of handling these repeating key events. But one thing that I could do is if I change this to handle key, and in here I say if key is down, and then just handle the key. So call that handle key function. I think that might work. If it doesn't, I'm going to go, yeah, okay. Whoa. But that introduces a new problem. Okay, we've got a very, very speedy puck. That's actually a much more interesting game. Okay, but I'm not going to go further with that. If I come back and do a part 2 on this, in the meantime, I'll figure out the problem and show how to solve that. But really what we've talked about today is how to get this scrolling background effect to work. So hopefully you can use that to good effect in your sketches. Happy creative coding, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with based on this example.